Hello everybody and welcome to Wolfie TV, and of course we're going to be doing a match preview today for Wolves, who take on Brentford at the weekend. A massive game at Molineux, especially after the big result that we got last weekend against Chelsea. It's another massive opportunity for us to obviously pull away from the jaws of relegation, and we probably only need a couple more wins now, don't we? If we can get a couple more wins, I think we should be safe, and I think this game presents a massive opportunity to do so. As always with the match preview, guys, we're going to be speaking about the latest news, obviously our opponents Brentford, as well as talking about Wolves and the expected lineup. So let's get into it, and let's start off by speaking about the latest news. Quickly, obviously, we know that Ruben Neves still has a one-game ban to face after his consecutive yellow cards dealt him a 2-game ban. I don't think we massively missed him against Chelsea. I will look forward to welcoming him back. Don't get me wrong. And we do know that we're trying our last attempt to try and get a new contract for him. He reportedly wants £100,000 a week. And if we do believe what's in the news, that's been the sticking point. If that is the case, please just hand this man the money. He's definitely worth that. And he's worth breaking any kind of salary expectations as well. If there's one person you want to break the structure for, it would be this man. Let's obviously speak about another midfielder in Mateus Nunes. It is reported that he will be back at the weekend. He did obviously come off towards the end of the game and did have to be helped off, but quite quickly after it was reported that he was walking fine. I honestly just think he was absolutely knackered. He really did cover so much ground in that game, as well as the beautiful strike. I think it was really pleasing to see him have such some fight, and the interviews that he's coming out with lately as well. Also, you know, he really looks up for the fight, and that's just something really pleasing to see. And the last bit of news, let's talk about this man, Boubacar Traore. I've really enjoyed this bloke since he's come to the club. You know, he just seems to have a really good aura about him, a really good attitude, and he is now building up his fitness. He had some time in the under-23s game. I think it was at midweek. So I'm sure he'll be available for selection. We obviously will wait to see if he does get chosen in the team. He's competing kind of with Hodge, isn't he, for one of those places on the bench. But I would love to see him on the bench, and I'd also love him to get some time on the pitch. Really did like him under Bruno Lage, but of course we've not seen a lot of him under Lopetegui because of the injuries that he's had since Lopetegui came into the club. Hello everybody, quick one for me before we get back to the match preview. If you could do me a massive favour and hit that like button, and if you are new to the channel or just haven't subscribed yet, do me a favour as well. If you're enjoying the video, hit that subscribe button as well. And let's get back to speaking about Wolves taking on Brentford. That is the news, guys, so let's go on and speak about the opponent that we are facing at the weekend. Obviously, we're facing Brentford, and a Brentford team that are performing a lot better than a lot of us expected. Currently sat in 9th in the table, but I think they're really going to want a win. The main reason being, if you look at the table itself, yes, they are in 9th, but a lot of teams above them and a lot of teams around them have got games in hand on them. And I think that could be an issue where it just really gives them some motivation to try and get something out of this game. When we look at Brentford's form, it's not been fantastic. In their last 4 games, they've only managed to win 1. And in the last 4, they've had 2 draws, which are then followed up with 2 defeats. If you're kind of being kind to Brentford, you would say, okay, well, they have faced Newcastle United, who are doing absolutely fantastic at the moment. They've also faced Man United as well, a high-flying Brighton, and a not-so-high-flying Leicester, who they got a draw against. So you would say they have had top opposition. And within those 5 games, last 4 games, I should say, they've also managed to get 5 goals. But the same could be said for Wolves as well. We've also got 5 goals in our last game. So I think that's going to be a really interesting game. Of course, one man that we will have to be wary of is Mr. Ivan Toney. Now, it's interesting, Ivan Toney. Apparently, we did have a couple of chances to sign him. The first coming back in 2014 when he was with Northampton. We agreed a deal for 500k, and something came up on his medical, which meant he didn't get the move, which at the time would have been a massive move for him. Obviously, you know, jumping up from Northampton to Wolves. But we've also apparently tried to sign him once more after that. Now, back in 2021, Tony did do a bit of an interview about this actually, which was quite interesting to hear. And he did basically say because of those failed times when he nearly signed for the Wolves, it does almost give him an extra little bit of motivation for us, which is exactly what you want to hear as Wolves fans. Coming from a striker that's finally got an England call-up and has scored 18 goals in 30 Premier League games this season. Hopefully he's got over it now and he'll forget that interview that he did in 2021. But regardless, this is a man that we're going to have to be very cautious of because he's having a great season and being an absolute talisman for Brentford. Let's move on and speak about our team, and we will talk about the lineup. And I think, for the first time in a long time, I think Julian Lopetegui might have a situation where he's picks the same team as last week. Of course, this was the team that started up and faced Chelsea, and I think it'll be the exact same thing. I thought Diego Costa worked very well with Mateus Cunha, and then Podence almost playing off them as well. I think that was something I said I wanted to see on the preview for Chelsea, actually, and of course he did choose that. Diego Costa, he might have not got a goal, but he did everything else. He was an absolute workhorse, and he did have a chance where he nearly scored as well. I think it just worked really well, and I think it'll be something that we will see again. Mateus Nunes, obviously, I've spoke about how I don't really like him playing on that wing, but in fact, he actually did really well playing there against Chelsea, and it seems to be something that Lopetegui likes. So I imagine that will continue. And I think the midfield speaks for itself. Those two had an absolutely unreal game, especially João Gomez. You have moments in football where you really have to seize your opportunity. Even the players such as Marcus Rashford obviously took their chance years ago when there was a problem with strikers at Man United. João Gomez, for me, has kind of had that moment. We were missing Neves. We needed somebody to step up. And he really showcased his talents and why he was called the Pitbull at his previous club. Just really getting about, covering the pitch. And these two, I think it's going to make a really interesting thing when Neves comes back, especially if we're only going to be picking two midfielders, because you can't drop Neves, but you can't drop either of these if they have another game like they did against Chelsea. So it's going to be a really interesting thing to see, to be honest. And I think João Gomez and Lamina will make a great midfield partnership. One more thing I want to speak about is the left-back situation. Obviously, we know Hugo Bueno is back in contention to be picked. But Tony Gomez has done absolutely brilliantly there, and I don't think he should really lose his place. He looks quite composed on the ball. Maybe doesn't have the same success going forward, perhaps, as Bueno, but he does just seem a lot more composed on the ball and maybe a better defensive choice as well. So I don't mind that if he is picked, and I imagine he will be. And I think for the first time in a long time, as I say, I believe we will see the same team selection as what we did in the previous week. It does now mean that obviously we're coming on to the part of the video where I am going to give my score prediction. Of course, we know a win would do absolute wonders for us, and it would not quite pull us away from relegation, but it would be huge, and it would probably only leave us needing one more win in what would be our last 6 games. And I just have a feeling we're going to do it, I think in the first 2 previews that I've done since us moving to all Wolves content, I've gave draws. I'm going to go one better on this one. I think we'll get the job done. And I'm going to say for once, we're going to score more than 1 and get a win. I'm going to say we're going to win 2. And I am going to say 2-1. I'm going to give Brentford a goal. Guys, let me know your score predictions as always. Let me know your thoughts on everything I spoke about. And if you have enjoyed the video, please do me a massive favour. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. I'll catch you on the next one. Catch you on the match reaction. Take care. Have a good one. Goodbye.